morning, Reptilians. Welcome back to my channel. So last week I said that I probably wouldn't be putting out a video this week because of holidays and stress, but I have found some time to go ahead and record one, and I thought it'd be a really good opportunity to record a video all about keeping your temperatures up in reptile tanks during the winter, because it is December and somehow it is not cold here. It's been like 68 degrees outside every day for the last 3 or 4 days. It was 68 degrees on Christmas, which is crazy. But in most other places in the northern hemisphere, it is currently cold. So I thought I'd take this opportunity to put together this video. So basically, this video is going to be talking about some ways to just boost up your temperatures a little bit in those tanks in cold weather. So we are assuming that you have already tried just increasing the temperature of your house itself. And we're also going to assume that your temperatures are normally correct for your animal. And since the temperature has changed outside, your ambient temperature has gone down a little bit. We're gonna look at very quick and easy and relatively inexpensive ways to just give that temperature a little boost. And we're also at the end of this going to talk about a few things not to do. Also keep in mind that if your animal, like a bearded dragon, is brumating, this might not be necessary unless it is like absolutely freezing in your house. So yeah, just keep that in mind as well. But let's get into it. The first one is the easiest and probably the cheapest way to go, and that's just adding an additional heat lamp. So this is going to be a dome with a heat lamp in it, or if you're just needing to boost it a couple of degrees, you can always do just a normal household light bulb as well, which is going to be super cheap. The downside to this is that you cannot use it at nighttime. Nocturnal animals are going to need dark at nighttime, just as diurnal animals are going to need dark at nighttime. You wouldn't want to sleep with your lights on, so your diurnal animal isn't going to want to sleep with lights on either. But most reptiles can handle a nighttime temperature drop. So if it's just a couple degrees that you're needing to adjust, this could be a very good option for you. And like I said, it's very easy and very convenient. The next thing that you could get to help with those temperatures is a heat pad. So even if you are already using a heat pad, adding another one could oftentimes help. They are super easy to find. Again, your local pet store is probably gonna have these, and since it doesn't really matter what size you're getting, it's just based on what temperature you are trying to increase, it's gonna be super easy to find. The downside to this is that you are also going to need a thermostat, because even though you're just running a heat pad to increase temperature and not trying to get it to an exact temperature, heat pads still can malfunction and overheat, and we need a device in place to prevent that from happening. So the price of this one is usually going to be quite a bit more than just a heat lamp, but this is something that you can use 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. You don't have to turn it off at nighttime. You can keep it on, and using that thermostat, you can adjust the temperature to be at whatever you need it to be at. Other than just the overall price of everything, the other downside is that in terms of ambient temperature, this isn't going to heat your overall tank up that much. Again, it's going to be perfect if you're just needing a few degrees spiked up, but if you are needing a pretty large jump in temperature, this isn't going to work the best for you. I actually have added a couple of very small heat pads to my gargle gecko's tank and my crocodile skink's tank, just because those tanks for some reason have gotten colder than the rest of the house. So I've actually been using small heat pads on the sides of their tanks to help their temperature, and it works wonderfully, and it gives my gargle gecko an opportunity to actually just get on that heat pad on the glass when she needs to, and it works wonderfully. Next up, and my absolute favorite way to add extra heat to tanks in the wintertime, are ceramic heat emitters in a dome with a dimmer switch. These things are awesome. They do not put off any light at all, so you can use them at 24/7. They are relatively inexpensive. They're gonna be about the same price as just a normal heat bulb, and you can buy them online for even cheaper, or chain pet stores sell them. I recently saw some at Petco and PetSmart, and I don't remember ever seeing them before. Maybe I just didn't look, but I was super excited to see that. They are awesome, and they can get super hot, so that's why I say that you need to have it in a fixture with a dimmable switch. Some fixtures with dimmable switches do not support ceramic heat emitters, so make sure that you read the box to make sure that it supports that. As long as you have those two things, you're able to adjust that temperature to get it where you need to get it for your animal. And again, it doesn't put off light, so you can use it through the night. This is what I use for Zaz on the rare occasion that we need supplemental heat, but this can increase your temperature by quite a lot if you need it to, which is very helpful, especially if you have reptiles that like it very, very hot, like your mastiff sticks, for example, they like it very hot, and when those temperatures start to dip, it can become dangerous. So ceramic heat emitters are definitely your friend there. And yeah, I would honestly probably just recommend it in most cases just because it is so adjustable and it does last 24 hours. I don't know, they're just my favorite. This one isn't going to work for all reptiles, but it will help out some a lot, and that is a water heater. Now, if you have like a fish tank or a turtle tank, you should probably already have a water heater in your tank. Sometimes, especially if your heater isn't big enough in like a turtle tank, throwing an extra heater in that turtle tank could also help. And sometimes in cases like my red-eyed crocodile skink's tank, where she has a pretty large swimming area in her tank, throwing a small fish heater in there is super helpful, just make sure you have like a cage or something around it so that your reptile doesn't just get on it and lay on that heater, because that could be dangerous. But throwing that in there could not only increase the temperature of the water, but it actually could bring up the entirety of the tank's temperature by a degree or two just by having the water warmer. So that one's obviously not going to apply to everyone, but if it does apply to you, that will be super helpful. And this last one isn't really something to buy, it's more of something to do, and that is covering up ventilation on the top of your tank if you are using like a screen lid. As we all know, heat rises, and if your lid on your tank is screen, that heat is just rising right out of that tank. So just throwing like a towel, a piece of plexiglass, even wood over the top of that could help to trap some of that heat in. Obviously, make sure your animal can still breathe and is still getting some kind of ventilation into that tank, but that can be super helpful in trapping more of the heat in, and sometimes just throwing a towel on top of a tank is all you need to boost those ambient temperatures up a couple of degrees. And lastly, I'm going to throw one more in. It is not cheap, it is not easy to find, and it doesn't work in every single tank. So I didn't want to put it in there, but there are people that this could work for, and that is a radiant heat panel. Radiant heat panels are a heating system that goes usually in PVC tanks, and they heat up the tank. They are supposed to be very, very safe. I do not have any personal experience with those, but they're supposed to be incredibly safe. They are supposed to not be able to burn your animal if your animal touches them, and they're supposed to not be able to overheat. Again, that's just what all the websites say. I have not tested them personally, but if you do have a PVC tank, that is something that you might consider. This is just not on my list because they are pretty expensive, like $100 or so expensive, and you're not going to be able to just run to Petco, to my knowledge, to just go grab one. It's something that you normally have to order online. So not cheap, not convenient, and not for everyone, but that might help you in your specific situation. Now we're just going to talk about a couple of things not to use, because these are things that are used very often and they can be incredibly dangerous. So the first one, there's only going to be two. The first one is heat rocks. It has been known for quite some time that heat rocks are incredibly dangerous, and I feel like the vast majority of people now know that, but I did feel like it was important to put into this video about heating. Heat rocks are dangerous. Heat rocks are very much known to malfunction and overheat and burn animals. They also have hot spots on them. So where a heat pad for the most part is one solid temperature all the way across, heat rocks will get spots on them that get hotter than the rest of the rock. Even if you were to put heat rocks on a thermostat, can you even do that? Even if you were to do that, heat rocks still get hot spots on them that will still get hotter than what that thermostat is set to, and could result in serious burns for your animal. If you look up heat rocks online, you will get countless reviews of people whose rocks have malfunctioned, whose animals have been badly injured because of them, of veterinary offices warning against them because of the amount of burns that they've seen from them, and even of fires starting from these rocks. So this is just something that it's best to avoid completely. And the other one that I wanted to talk about not using are red light bulbs. Red light bulbs are marketed as additional heat for reptiles because they are marketed as reptiles don't see red, so you can leave them on 24/7. That is not the case. Just because an animal doesn't see red doesn't mean that the animal cannot see a bright light. And this just goes back to, if it is a diurnal animal, then they want to be able to sleep at night in the dark. And if it is a nocturnal animal, they want it to be dark at night. It's just more of messing up that natural circadian rhythm, and we don't want to do that. In addition, there have been people's animals whose eyes were harmed as a result of red lights. So again, that is just something that I wouldn't want to take a risk on, and I highly urge against using that kind of light for your animals. But that's it, guys. Like I said, I had a little bit of time, so this was probably a very short video, but I wanted to get this video out to you guys because it is winter time, and supplemental heating is a question that I get a lot, so I wanted to just kind of throw it together in a video. Hopefully it was helpful. If you have any other tips for keeping lizards warm or what you do in the winter, go ahead and leave that down in the comments below because it might help somebody out. I hope that you guys all had wonderful holidays, and New Year is in the middle of this week, so happy early New Year. But that's it. If you are not already, please feel free to follow me on my other socials and like, subscribe, and hit that bell for notifications every single time I put out a new video, which is every Sunday. Huge thank yous and shout outs to Kaylee Ann for following me on Instagram and going through and liking a whole bunch of my stuff. Thank you so much. You are the bee's knees. And don't forget, guys, if you want a shout out in a future video, just follow me on Instagram and like a bunch of my pictures and you could be on here next. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I hope you have a fantastic day. Bye. And lastly, and that is radiant heat emitters. A radiant heat emitter is what it's called, right?